So with regards to discs, we have different brands and different materials. You get these sort of bronze-looking ones. Some of them are made of, they're bonded together. Some are it's a paper disc. You might see that they're normally like a tan colour. Probably more like that colour on that. So it's a paper disc. There are some that are made with sintered bronze, probably like this one here. You get them made of graphite, and probably not bringing in our industry much is ceramic as well. So those are the main sort of fibers that we use. There are some of the early ones that are woven. This is a really old part that's from one of the old dozers, a steering clutch. You won't see this sort of material used these days. Just you guys who do the packing and that, if you see any water damage on any of these, they'll be no good either. So discs are made, as I said for earlier, they either stop or slow down the motion of the vehicle. Right? So if you can imagine a bulldozer, you need to turn left or right. Right? So it'll stop on the left or stop on the right, depending which side you want to go. This is a typical steering clutch. There are two of these in a dozer, like a typical sort of D4, the earlier models, D4Ds. They look a little bit different nowadays. They're made up of a series of packs. They have a disc. They have a disc and a plate that go together. It's called a separator plate. Okay, so these all go together and builds up a pack very much like that. In the early days, probably when I was a child, they originally came out with the disc would dry. So the modern day oil discs, they all run in oil. These steering clutches. The early days they actually came out dry. If you have a look at that, you can see there's no grooves or anything on them. Okay, so these steering clutches were assembled, they were dry. They had the plates in between, and didn't last as long as the more modern day stuff. This is the exact same machine, just the later model as this one. It's a D4D. That's the exact same model. It's just got, you can see they're a bit lighter actually. That's the later one that runs in oil. The big difference is here, you can see they're like got little lines here. So all the oil actually flows in between these lines, and there's a thin layer of oil between these discs. And obviously with oil and the use of these steering clutch packs together, they last a lot longer than the original old dry ones. Okay, because the oil just helps as preventive and lubricating. So that's a paper type one there as well. You can pass it around if you like. I think most of you have seen it. So in terms of you guys in stores and dispatch, if you see any that come through the system that have broken teeth or damaged in any way, they have watermarks. Quite often we get some that possibly might have a little bit of surface rust or something. All right, they mustn't have any rust on them. It's just they're no good there. I'll just show you what some of these look like when they have failed. These are out of a transmission in our workshop. You can see that bit of plate there is actually bonded. See how it's bonded on the steel thing. Now this particular plate's got really hot. The transmission has failed. I'm not sure why it failed, but this is the consequences of a transmission failure. So these discs are found in steering clutches, but they're also found in transmissions and all sorts of other things. So effectively, you guys who drive automatic vehicles, motor cars, you'll have something similar to that in your car. You might have a pack that's your forward gear, first gear. You might have another pack that's your second gear or third gear. And as your transmission selects, it'll activate each pack, first gear, second gear, or third gear, or whatever it is. So you'll have different little packs like this in your transmission, in your motor car. Again, when you pick parts as well, if you can just make sure that you do get, we mainly get the same brand, but there are times where our suppliers are struggling at the moment, particularly with COVID, where we might have different brands. So if you are supplying some steering clutches and discs and that, you can just make sure they get the same brand. These are high quality parts. Tilly's over the years has always invested in the best quality in terms of steering clutch packs, discs, with the best brand names in the world, like Meba and such like. It's just that when you're doing a job and you're putting a transmission in, you want to get the best quality in there because it's quite a big job to take this thing out and put it back together. Just on those lines, there are some other ones that you guys might have seen you pick. These are discs that go on a steering band, so that will go on your steering clutch. Is a big band that goes around here, which is a steering brake. These are discs that go that are replaced when those are worn out. There are rivets in them, so just make sure that the rivets go with the parts. So these are Meba ones that you can see here. On the friction side, you will have something like this in your motor cars. Look right this size, these are big ones. Anyone know what these are?
It's like a rubber sheet.
Right.
Yeah, they're brake pads. So these go, there's normally one on each side, and you've got a big disc in the middle, and when you push your brake in your motor car, they come together and they apply friction and stop your wheels. So it's a brake line. Caterpillar call it a carrier line. Whatever reason, I'm not sure. Just in terms of, I'll just give you a little bit more information about steering clutches. Caterpillar have, if you had this come to your workshop, Caterpillar have an actual specification. You can measure that whole pack, get a, say 447 millimeters. There's a specification here on the Caterpillar workshop manual, and it'll tell you that that is serviceable at 47. Might tell you it's serviceable between sort of 45 and 49 millimeters, somewhere between there. So we know we can reuse that. Same with these discs. Each disc can be measured, and it'll tell you whether it's reusable or not, just purely on the measurement. So we have a new little machine that I'd like to introduce. I don't know if you guys